Welcome to the Animal Behavior Wellness Center's introductory course on dog communication and behavior. Dogs use their entire bodies to communicate and express their inner emotions, from the tip of their nose to the tip of their tail. In this presentation, we will explore how dogs use their eyes, ears, tails, and muzzles to communicate and express their inner emotions. Let's start with the eyes. This is Cleo. As you can see in the photo on the left, Cleo has soft eyes that are round with normal sized pupils, and you cannot see any of the whites of her eyes. That's a nice, relaxed looking dog. In the middle photo, Cleo is very uncomfortable, and you can see the whites of her eyes. We call this whale eye. Cleo is very worried. In the picture on the right, Cleo is squinting and is likely feeling very stressed. Notice how Cleo's ears are pulled back tight in both the middle photo and the photo on the right. You can also see that her whiskers are pulled down in the middle photo and the photo on the right, in compared to the photo on the left. In these photos of Vindy and Gronk, you can see how they wrinkle their brow when they're worried. Vindy also has the whites of his eyes showing, or whale eye, in the far right picture. In these photos, Vindy and Gronk are very worried. This is Alfredo. When he's worried or nervous, he avoids eye contact. In the photo on the left, the human has her arm over his back like a gentle hug. That makes him very uncomfortable, so he puts his head down to avoid any eye contact. You can see in the middle photo where the human is trying to pet him, and he has whale eye and he's leaning away from her. In the photo on the far right, the human has two hands around him, and he responds by squinting his eyes. Notice how his ears are tightly pulled back in all of these pictures, and his mouth is tightly closed too. This human contact is very unwelcome. Alfredo likely finds it scary, and he is trying his best to communicate that he is very uncomfortable with this physical contact. Can you spot the difference in Daphne's pupils in these two photos? If you said that her pupils are dilated in the picture on the right, you got it. She's much more stressed in the photo on the right. You can also see some subtle lines of stress and tension in her face, behind the back of her mouth and under her eyes. Now let's talk about the ears. This is Gemma. As you can see in the photo on the left, she is very alert, watching something with an intense focus. Notice how her ears are lifted high at the base where they meet her head, and they were forward. For this dog, we want to gently encourage her to break that focus by making some kissy noises to divert her attention back to us before her behavior escalates. In the middle photo, Gemma is very scared. Her ears are pinned back tightly against her head. Notice that she also has that whale eye we talked about before, and her mouth is tightly closed. This is how Gemma responds when she is lying on the floor and someone walks over to pet her. It's her polite way of saying, "Please don't hurt me," or "Please back away, I'm really scared." On the right, Gemma is very uncomfortable with the close physical contact and hug, and her ear is pulled back and out to the sides. She loves this girl, but she's very uncomfortable with this type of physical touch. Again, notice the tensely closed mouth in all of these pictures and the wrinkle in her brow in the middle and the far right pictures. This is Chewy. Although he loves his girl, he doesn't love her hand over his back, and you can see that his ears are pulled out to the sides. Notice that whale eye again, too. In the middle photo, he is looking pretty relaxed with his ears in the position that we would expect them to be in when he is resting and relaxed. I think we get the whites of the eyes in that photo simply because of the direction of his head as he's turning to smile for the camera. How about that photo on the right? Notice how his ears are turned out to the sides? There's that whale eye again. He's very nervous. This is Alfredo again. In the photo on the right, in the photo on the left, Alfredo has his ears pulled back and slightly out to the sides. Notice how he's squinting and he's tightly closing his mouth? All signs that he is worried or very stressed. In the middle photo, notice how the base of his ears are up and high? He's a little more alert and aroused in this photo. Some other observations we can make are that his tail is straight up, his face is full of wrinkles and tension, and his mouth is tightly closed. He is on high alert. He's very worried, very concerned about something. How about that photo on the far right? Again, those ears pulled back tightly, and there are those squinty eyes again. Notice how he is shifting his body weight away from the person who is holding him with two hands. He's very politely trying to move away from this very uncomfortable situation. In the photo on the left, Dolly and June are playing. They're housemates and they love to play together. But let's look at Dolly's ears as she's in this state of high arousal. It's a good state, but her ears are lifted up at the base and she's alert and happy in a good way. In the middle photo, she is having a really fun time and she looks really relaxed here. She's at the beach. You can see how her ears are gently falling down to the sides of her face, and there's no tension where the ears are meeting the base of her head. It's probably the same position that her ears would be in if she were sleeping. Now in the picture on the far right, Dolly is very alert and focused on something. Her ears are lifted at the base where they meet her head, and they are forward. Maybe there's a dog off camera. Maybe it's time to do some happy talk and a turn and go to kind of redirect that focus. Now let's talk about muzzles. This is Ruth Bader Ginsburg, also called Ginny for short. She's licking her lips because she just finished a delicious pup cup. In the photo on the left, look how relaxed Gemma's entire face is. There are no wrinkles present around the sides or the back of her mouth. Her eyes and her ears are soft, and she looks quite happy and relaxed. In contrast, the photo up at the top on the right, her ears are held high and her tongue is bright red and spatulated or wide at the tip. And she's panting heavily even though she hasn't been doing any exercise. And there are a lot of wrinkles and tension in her face, specifically around the back of her mouth and under her eyes. In this photo, she is very stressed. In the bottom right photo, she was resting on the carpet and she had an unwelcome visitor show up to pet her. Notice the whale eye once again and the way she is pulling her head back and away in avoidance. And notice how her mouth is tightly closed. She is very concerned and she is very politely asking for this person to please give her some space. In the bottom left-hand photo, Cleo looks mildly stressed. Now, stress can be good stress and it can be bad stress. So without knowing what happened before this photo, potentially she was playing and she exerted some energy, or maybe it was a little bit warm outside. We don't really know, but we do know there is some tension in her face. You can see some wrinkles behind the back of her mouth. Her tongue is slightly spatulated at the end, and it's open wide and she's panting. She does have those squinty eyes and her ears are lifted up at the base, so she's not fully relaxed. In the middle photo, at the top, her tongue is spatulated and bright red. She has that whale eye and her ears are pulled back tight and there's wrinkles around the back of her mouth. In that photo, she's very stressed, very worried. And on the photo on the right, notice that her eyes are really round and her pupils are dilated. Her mouth is closed tightly and her ears are flat down by her head. So she's very worried. This is Layla. Layla has a beautiful smile when she's relaxed. You can see all the teeth in the back of her mouth. There are no stress wrinkles in her face. Her eyes are relaxed and her ears are relaxed just down by the sides of her head. In contrast, when there is a storm brewing, Layla gets very stressed, and you can see in the photo in the middle all of the wrinkles around the back of her mouth and around the top of her muzzle and under her eyes. Her ears are also pulled back and her eyes are squinting and she's panting heavily. She's inside in the air conditioning, so there's really no good reason for her to be panting heavily. She's very stressed. This is Milo. And the first picture at the top left is what Milo looks like when he is happy and relaxed. His mouth is open wide in a gentle pant. His tongue is normal size at the tip. His ears are soft. His eyes are soft. But in the middle photo, where he's a little bit more stressed, we can see some differences here. His owner tells me that he was a little uncomfortable wearing that gentle leader. And you can notice that the tip of his tongue is more spatulated. His ears are pulled back. He's got that pant going on. He's got wrinkles behind the back of his mouth, and he's squinting with his eyes. Let's look at the middle photo on the top there where he's got a snarl on his face. In a snarl, you can just see the front teeth, and the mouth is in the shape of a C. It's kind of like a pucker. There are wrinkles around the nose at the front of the mouth, or just above the mouth, and his ears are pulled back. How about that photo on the top right? Suddenly he's closed his mouth, and he looks like he's focusing on something off camera. Now, I'd say in this photo, he looks very relaxed. He doesn't have any wrinkles in his face, and his ears and his eyes look soft. But the fact that he closed his mouth tells me he's alerted to something. He's paying attention to something. Now let's look at that photo on the bottom right. How does he look here? We see that whale eye again and a tightly closed mouth, and you can see those whiskers are pulled down and those ears are pulled back. With that human arm around him, I would say he looks like he's just not comfortable. Let's talk tails. I want to start by busting a myth that I hear so often, and that is that a wagging tail is a happy tail. That's simply not always true. It's really important to look at how the tail is wagging. Let's start with the photo at the top right, where these two dogs are playing. So Rascal, the black dog, is in a play bow. So that's a really nice play solicitation posture. He's having a really good time. And they look like they're having some good play. They have some curvy bodies, and Alfredo, the orange and white dog, his tail is in line with the back of his body and in a gentle swoosh. That's a good tail. That's a good wag. The black dog Rascal naturally carries his tail a little bit over his back and curved. That's just his breed or his breed mix and how he wears his tail when he's relaxed. So now in the photo on the bottom right, notice how Alfredo's tail has changed. It is straight up over his back. He is very tensed. He's highly aroused. His body weight is shifted forward. His feet are very still. And Rascal is walking away. His tail is up and he's like, I'm going to leave this situation. I'm going to diffuse this situation. And he's walking away. That's an excellent response on Rascal's part when he sees that the other dog is getting a little bit too intense. Alfredo definitely needs a break in that photo. And then we have the photo on the far left. Both of these dogs have their tail down. So Rascal, again, his tail is curving, but if you notice the base of the tail where it meets his body is gone straight down before it starts to curve at the tip. And Alfredo's tail, although it's hard to see in that photo, if you look carefully, it's straight down and coming around the outside of his back left leg. What other tense body language do you see in the photo on the far left? Look at those dogs' mouths, their eyes, their ears, and their body postures. Here's Cleo again. In the photo on the left, Cleo is happy and relaxed with her tail nicely in line with the back of her body and a gentle tail wag. Again, this is a good-looking tail. Good-looking wag. This is a relaxed dog. In the photo on the top right, she's very worried and she's carrying her tail very low. And in the photo on the bottom right, she is highly stressed, very scared, very nervous. Her tail is now tightly tucked between her legs. Here's Keegan. If you notice on the far left, Keegan's playing with a toy, and he looks like he's having a really good time. You can see that his tail is right in line with the back of his body. Same with the second photo from the left, where he's walking toward us. He still has his tail in line with the back of his body. His ears are a little bit up and forward, and he's panting, but again, he may have been playing right before this, and so he may have some panting due to exercise and a little bit of excitement that have his ears lifted, but generally he still looks very good. His body is relaxed and his tail is in line with the back of his body. So what changes when we move over to that third photo? Notice the change in his tail. This tells me his inner emotions have changed. He's now very alert. His tail is straight up. His ears are really up high. His mouth is just slightly open. So I'm not really sure what he sees. He's looking at something off camera. It's hard to know what it is. Maybe another dog is walking past the fence. But he's definitely become more alert. And how about that photo on the far right? Now look at how his tail has changed. And his body is a little bit hunched over. I would say he looks worried. His tail is low, his body is hunched over, and he's sniffing the ground. So as dogs can sniff, that's a normal behavior, but sometimes they sniff when they're worried. It's kind of a displacement behavior. Here's Ginny again. Since Ginny is a terrier, she normally carries her tail straight up over her back and very still, like the picture on the left. That's a happy, relaxed Ginny. When Ginny becomes more aroused or starts to go over threshold, we start to see that tail wag fast back and forth. We call that a high flagging tail. And that's no longer a good tail. That's a very fast wag. It tells me this dog is becoming very, very excited, and it's a good time to kind of decompress her, defuse that situation. Now, what's going on in the picture on the right? I really want to know. I wonder what happened just before this photo was taken, because now her tail is straight down, which tells me she looks very worried about something. This is Gemma. Gemma is a husky mix, so she normally has a tail curved up slightly over her back. But again, we're looking at where the base of the tail meets the body. So if you look at the top left photo, you can see that the base of the tail is in line with the back of her body. It's just the end of the tail that's curving up over her back there. Now on the bottom left photo, we were out on a walk and she suddenly spotted another dog. Notice the base of the tail. It is now straight up. In this case, I'd like to help her redirect her focus and diffuse the situation before it escalates. I might do a little happy talk or make some kissy noises. Gemma! And kind of call her away and see if I can diffuse that situation. And then in the top right, this is Gemma when she's feeling a little worried about something. Notice how the base of her tail is down low. Now we're going to talk about the overall body of the dog. A happy and relaxed dog should be loose and curvy. On the top left, Ginny and Gabby are playing and they have very curvy bodies. They may look vicious with their snarly faces, but they're the best of friends and they are having a really good time. Same with the dogs on the bottom left. Again, lots of snarly faces. But the clue here that everybody's doing okay is that the bodies are nice and curvy. In the middle, we have a nice curvy dog greeting between Vindy and Gronk. And on the top right, June models a really nice circle sniff greeting that we like to see when two dogs are introduced. And then there's Pearl on the bottom right. She simply couldn't be more relaxed with that curvy, loose body. These dogs are scared or worried. Let's start with the top left, where we have Remy, the little white dog on the right, and Cyclone. Remy is very worried with Cyclo checking him out. Notice how his body is shifted away from Cyclone. He's got that little paw lift, which is an appeasement behavior. Basically, he's saying, Cyclone, please don't hurt me. He's also squinting his eyes. He's very politely asking Cyclo to give him some space. And then there's Alfredo in the middle. He's shifting his body weight away from the human who's trying to pet him. And then we have the little dog on the far right. This was an unfamiliar person to this dog who picked him up. Notice the dog's got whale eye and his ears are tightly pulled back and his mouth is in a pucker, and he's shifting his weight away from the person. He's very scared. These little dogs are also very scared. You can see by the hunch in their bodies. What other worried body language can you spot in these dogs when you look at their eyes and their ears and their tails and their muzzles? dogs are feeling protective or worried about their person or about their stuff. Pearl at the top left is protecting her bed from another dog that is getting too close. She holds her body over it and clasps onto it. In the top middle photo, Ginny is protecting a toy from her housemate, Ike, by turning her back to him. And in the photo on the top right, Alfredo is leaning into his human as someone is approaching. He's very uncomfortable with that person approaching him when he's next to his human. Sometimes dogs will actually move in front of the human or move in front of a toy or a bed or a space that they're protecting. He's very worried. And on the bottom left, Sango says, "This ball is mine." He's holding it with both paws and also has his muzzle over it as he snarls with his ears back. These dogs have stiff bodies and very high tails. They are highly aroused or over threshold. In the photo on the left, Rascal's walking away as we talked about before. He notices that tension in Alfredo's body and he's just trying to diffuse things by leaving the scene. Nice choice on his part. On the right-hand photo, even though Rascal's tail normally has some curve to it, in this photo you can see how the base of the tail is straight up, as is Alfredo's. So both of these dogs are in a highly aroused situation. Notice Alfredo's body weight as he's leaning away from Rascal, and he's also avoiding eye contact with Rascal. This avoidance behavior is a big red flag. These dogs need a break. They are not enjoying this time together. This is a first greeting on the left here between Keegan and Layla. Notice that their bodies are very still and they're meeting straight on, nose to nose or face to face. That's a very difficult type of greeting for a dog. It's different in contrast to what we saw before with that circle sniff, which is a much better greeting for dogs. And notice those high flagging tails. They're up stiff and straight and they're wagging very fast. You can tell by the blur in the photo. I'm really curious what happened right after that greeting. And notice this dog on the right. This is Keegan, intensely focused on something. What other body language do you see? Look at his eyes, his mouth, his ears, and his tail. In either one of those cases, a nice way to diffuse that situation would be to some happy talk, some kissy noises, maybe a treat scatter away from the situation to try to redirect their focus. This is Grady's first time meeting the cows on the farm. Notice on the left his intense stare. His eyes are shifted forward, his body weight is shifted forward, and his body is very stiff and still. As you can see, it quickly escalated to lunging on the right-hand photo. This is the ladder of aggression. This is a fantastic handout. It shows how dogs use low-level body language, that's those green arrows, to give us subtle signals that they're feeling a little bit uncomfortable. And if we don't recognize and diffuse the situation early on, then they'll escalate into the yellow and the orange and then eventually the red zone. Dogs don't bite out of the blue. They usually give us a whole bunch of warnings before they reach that level. The question is, do we recognize it? And when we see it, do we know what to do? So we're going to look at some of these low-level signs on the ladder of aggression, starting with yawns. This is one of the green arrows on the ladder of aggression. A yawn can be a normal behavior, right? If a dog is sleepy, they're going to yawn. But what about when a dog is at the vet clinic or in another stressful situation? In these cases, when we know the context or the environment and the dog is probably not relaxed, if we see them yawning, that indicates that they are probably very stressed. For example, look at Alfredo in the top left photo and notice his yawn as he's getting his photo taken. He doesn't like getting his photo taken. That yawn is pulled back tight. Notice the stress in his face. So that's not a relaxed yawn in comparison to the photos of our friend Gronk in the other two photos. Gronk is the little guy resting there with the Mastiff on the bottom left and also on the top right. That's a much more relaxed yawn. Lip licks, like yawns, require us to note what is happening in the environment. On the top left, Ginny has had ice cream. So she's licking her lips because she's just trying to get all the ice cream off her face. But in the other three photos, these dogs are likely very stressed about what is happening in the environment. Is it a kiss? Or is the dog asking us to please make it stop? We call this a kiss to dismiss when a dog licks a person on the face. A kiss to dismiss often precedes a bite, so please be aware when your dog is doing this, they are not kissing you because they're enjoying being close to you. They are really asking for space and they are saying, you're too close. As we move up the ladder of aggression, we see avoidance behavior, such as turning a head away, walking away, or ignoring. In the top left photo, Alfredo is refusing to look at Rascal. This is a big red flag when we have an ignoring. On the bottom left, Pearl and Ginny had been playing, and Pearl is politely trying to let Ginny know that she is all done. And in the top right photo, Gemma turns her head away when the camera comes out. She really doesn't like having her picture taken. Paw lifts are a dog's way of trying to de-escalate tension or politely ask for space. So again, look at the body language on the dogs on the top left. That's our Cyclone and Remy again, with Remy has his paw lift. And look at the little dog in the middle photo. This little dog is also very worried. There's a hand reaching in and she's lifting her paw. Now what about Dixie on the far right? She has her paw lifted too. But look at the rest of her body language. Does she look stressed? I think she looks pretty good. Her mouth is open and relaxed. Her eyes and ears are soft, although her ears are up just a little bit. I happen to know the person off camera was holding a treat and she was anticipating getting a treat. So in that photo and with that paw lift, knowing the context and the environment is really important. She's not worried at all. She's just anticipating a treat. This is Sango. In this photo, Sango is very conflicted. He really wants to get some water, but you can see by his body posture that he's extremely worried about it. Notice the low, hunched over body, the very still feet, the tail down low, and the way his neck is stretched way out. He's very worried in this photo. Dogs who are crouching and tucking their tails are also up there in that yellow zone on the ladder of aggression. They are very worried as well. Again, we want to see loose, wiggly, curvy in our dog's body, not hunched over or stiff and straight. This is one I really like to talk about because I think this is one of the most misunderstood things in all of dog body language. and it's all the way up with the orange arrows just below when we get into the red on the ladder of our aggression. When a dog is lying on their side stiffly with their front paw lifted, they are not asking for a belly rub. So notice in the far left photos, the top and the bottom, Gemma is on her side and she's stiffly laying there with her, on the bottom photo, she has her paw lifted up. On the top photo, she does not, but there's an arm over that leg, so she may be prevented from lifting it. But her ears are tightly pulled back, her mouth is tightly closed, and she has whale eye. She was resting and someone invaded her space. Remember the old adage, leave sleeping dog lie? That's a good reason to do it. Look in contrast to Gemma at the top right. This is Gemma when she really does want a belly rub, which is actually pretty rare. But her body's in a nice curvy shape. She's flat out on her back, her tail is fully out and relaxed, and her mouth is open and relaxed as well. This is Jenny. Jenny doesn't want anyone touching her tummy after she just had her space surgery in the left photo. And she's on her side flatly. She's got her front paw lifted. And look at the worry in her face. You can see the wrinkle between her eyes, and you can see that her mouth is tightly closed. Look at that in contrast to her on the right, which is more normal for Jenny when she's feeling good. These dogs are getting into the red zone. Their bodies are stiff, they're staring, they're snarling, and they're likely growling too. A word of warning, please don't ever punish a dog for escalating to this level or for growling, because they are using what they have as their communication to try very hard to tell us how they're feeling. They're just super uncomfortable, and they've escalated to that point, likely because they tried a bunch of lower level warnings that just didn't work. If we punish out warning signs like a growl, we won't reduce the dog's discomfort, and in fact, we can make it worse. We only take away their warnings. The best thing to do in these situations is just ease away and regroup, and think about how we can avoid getting the dog in that situation again in the future. This is Sango. He's in the red zone when another dog gets too close to him when he has his ball. He has very clear communication skills, and he's very unhappy with the situation. All right, it's time to take a quiz. Get your pencil and paper ready and write down the answers to these 3 questions. You will need to put the answers into the jot form that came in the email with the link to this presentation. Once you do that, you will be able to proceed with scheduling to see one of our doctors. Question number 1. What do we call this look in Vindy's eyes? Question number 2. Does Dolly look like she's enjoying the beach? Question number 3. Does Ginny look like she would like a belly rub today? Thank you for watching this important introductory presentation on dog communication and behavior. Those of us at the Animal Behavior Wellness Center, along with a few of our friends, have enjoyed sharing our pets with you today. If you would like to dive deeper into dog communication and behavior, we highly recommend our follow-on course where we spend a full 90 minutes analyzing videos of both dog-to-dog interactions and dog-to-human interactions. This course is offered on Zoom and you can sign up under the classes page right on our website. Prior to that class, we invite you to share any video you may wish to include in the class that we can look at together during the class. We do ask that you don't put any humans or dogs at risk for the sake of capturing a video. This is very important. If you have video you would like to include in the class, prior to the class, send it to us at our website, at our email, info@abwellnesscenter.com, with dog communication video in the subject line. Sending us your videos implies consent to share your videos in our classes. Thank you, and we appreciate you joining us for this workshop.